You know, people think cheating cases are simple. A husband, a wife, a suspicious phone call, maybe a hotel receipt. They think private investigators just follow somebody around, snap a few pictures, hand over a report, and that's the end of it. But sometimes these cases go somewhere darker. Sometimes what starts as an affair investigation turns into something else entirely. And after enough years in this business, you realize infidelity is usually just the smoke. The real fire is hiding underneath. I'm Mike with Elite Investigations here in Billings, Montana, and this is Behind the Investigation. If you like these podcast style episodes, let me know down in the comments. And don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe because it really helps the channel. Now let's get into tonight's case. This case started the way a lot of them do. A wife contacted me saying her husband had changed. Not overnight, slowly. More distant, more secretive, working late, guarding his phone, leaving the room to take calls. And the biggest red flag of all, he suddenly cared about his appearance again. New clothes, gym membership, cologne. I always tell people, when behavior changes suddenly, there's usually a reason. Now, to be clear, that doesn't automatically mean cheating, but it means something changed. And usually, spouses can feel it before they can prove it. That gut instinct is real more often than people think. So we sit down in my office, and one thing I've learned after years of investigations, people don't just hire a private investigator for evidence. A lot of times, they hire you because they need someone to confirm they're not crazy. Because by the time somebody calls me, they've usually spent months being lied to, gaslit, manipulated, told they're imagining things. And you can see it in their face, that exhaustion, that feeling that something is wrong, but they can't prove it. Now, during our meeting, she tells me something interesting. The husband wasn't just disappearing at night. He had started taking random weekend work trips, but his job didn't really require travel. That immediately caught my attention because lies always create extra movement. People suddenly need excuses for where they've been, and the more complicated the lie gets, the harder it becomes to maintain. So we start with surveillance. Simple. Nothing flashy like the movies. No trench coats, no dramatic music. Just long hours sitting in a vehicle watching patterns. That's what real PI work looks like most of the time. Patience. The first couple days, nothing. Work, gym, home. Honestly, boring. And a lot of people don't understand that either. Surveillance isn't action-packed most of the time. It's boredom interrupted by moments that matter. Then on the third night, things changed. He leaves work and drives across town to a parking lot behind a strip mall. Not exactly romantic. He sits there for almost 20 minutes. Then another vehicle pulls in. Female driver. He gets into her car, and they leave together. Now, right there, for most clients, that's enough. But in this business, assumptions get people in trouble. So we keep working. And over the next couple weeks, we establish a pattern. Hotels, restaurants, late-night meetings. Pretty textbook affair investigation. But then something happened that completely changed the direction of the case. The subject drives to a neighborhood outside town. Not to the woman's apartment, not to a hotel, a house. Normal middle-class neighborhood, nothing unusual. He parks in the driveway and walks inside like he lives there, and he stays all night. Now that got my attention. Because mistresses usually don't involve overnight suburban routines unless something deeper is happening. So the next day I start digging property records, utilities, background work. And that's when we discovered something unbelievable. The house belonged to another woman who also believed she was in an exclusive relationship with him. But it got worse. She had a child living there, a little girl. And according to neighbors, the husband had been presenting himself as her father for years. Now think about that for a second. This wasn't just an affair anymore. This guy wasn't living a double life emotionally. He was literally operating two separate identities, two homes, two relationships, two completely different versions of himself. And what's crazy is, this happens more than people realize. Some people become professional liars. They build entire systems around deception, separate phones, separate bank accounts, separate schedules, and eventually they start believing their own lies. So now the client isn't just dealing with betrayal. She's realizing she may have never actually known the person she married. And that's the part people underestimate in these cases. The emotional damage isn't always about sex. It's about realizing your reality may have been fake for years. That destroys people psychologically. Now, at this point, we continue documenting everything carefully: photos, timelines, vehicle movements, because emotions don't win cases. Evidence does. That's important. As investigators, we deal in facts, not revenge, not anger, not internet drama. Facts. And I tell clients this all the time. Don't confront too early. Because once somebody knows they're being watched, behavior changes immediately. Phones disappear, evidence disappears, stories change. So we stayed quiet and we kept digging. Then came the financial side. And honestly, this was the part that shocked the client the most. Hidden credit cards, cash withdrawals, hotel charges, gift purchases, money transferred between accounts she didn't know existed. The affair itself was bad enough, but discovering years of financial deception, that changed everything. Because now it wasn't just emotional betrayal, it was fraud inside the marriage. And unfortunately, I've seen this before, a lot. Affairs and financial deception go together more than people think, because lies are expensive. Double lives cost money. And here's the strange thing about surveillance work. You spend enough time watching people, you start seeing patterns in human behavior. Most people think they're unique, but they're not. The lies change, the emotions don't. Everybody thinks they're smarter than everyone else until the pattern catches up to them. And eventually, it always does. Now, eventually, the client decided to confront him. And just like many of these cases, the first thing he did was deny everything, even with evidence sitting right in front of him. That's another thing people don't understand. Evidence doesn't automatically produce honesty. Sometimes it just produces better lies. The marriage ended shortly after that. And honestly, that's usually how these stories end. Not dramatically, not with screaming and police lights. Usually just paperwork, silence. People dividing property in cold conference rooms while pretending they aren't emotionally destroyed. That's the real ending most of the time. Not Hollywood, just damage. And after all these years in investigations, that's probably the part that stays with me the most. Seeing what people are capable of doing to each other. Not strangers, families, spouses, people who once claimed they loved each other. It's strange sometimes. You spend enough years doing this work, and eventually you stop being shocked. But every now and then, a case still gets to you. Not because of the cheating, but because of how completely somebody can erase another person's trust in reality. People ask me all the time if this job makes you cynical. Maybe a little. But I think what it really does is show you human nature without the mask. And sometimes that mask is very thin. That's why I always tell people, if your gut says something is wrong, don't ignore it forever. You may not like the answer, but living in uncertainty can destroy you just as much as the truth. I'm Mike Toth with Elite Investigations here in Billings, Montana, and this has been Behind the Investigation. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to like, subscribe, and share the channel. It really helps us continue bringing you real stories from the world of private investigations and true crime. And remember, sometimes the truth isn't hidden because it's hard to find. Sometimes it's hidden because somebody worked very hard to keep it buried. Until next time, stay safe, stay aware, and I'll see you on the next investigation.